My wife, 24, and I, 24 male, have been together for 3 years and married for about 6 months. We recently found out that we were going to be parents, and we're both very excited. We told our families over the weekend, and everyone was happy for us. This morning, I got a text from my wife's sister, 21, saying that she knows that women can get emotionally and physically abusive and can put a stop to intimacy during pregnancy, and that she's willing to help me out anytime that I'm in need emotionally or otherwise during and after the pregnancy. Obviously, I have no interest in anyone other than my wife, but how do I tell her what her sister offers? My wife has always been there for her sister, and they've always been super close. Her sister was the maid of honor at our wedding. I don't want my wife to lose that bond, and it would destroy her if she found out that her sister was willing to betray her like that. At the same time, her sister's a snake and is willing to ruin our marriage and the life of her soon-to-be nephew or niece for what I'm guessing is a childish crush on me. My first priority is my wife and unborn child, and anyone else can go to the bad place. How do I approach this situation? There's literally no good outcome. I can tell my wife tonight. She'll be absolutely devastated. I'll always be there for her, and I know her parents will be on her side, but losing a 20-year bond with her own sibling while in such a vulnerable state sounds terrible. How can I possibly tell my wife that the sister she loved and looked after for so many years wanted to sleep with her husband while she was pregnant? If I don't tell her soon and tell her later, she may lose her trust in me. If I don't tell her at all, my wife will be close with someone who clearly does not care for her and could easily betray her again. Not the idiot. This is a very simple solution. OP, rip the Band-Aid off and tell your wife. Your wife's sister betrayed you, your wife, your marriage, and her family the second she tried to inject that toxicity into your relationship. This type of person is the same kind of manipulative excrement that will turn around and say that she was testing your loyalty to her sister, your wife, if you give her any warning at all that you might tell your wife. Don't give her the opportunity to manipulate. Tell your wife the truth before she has a chance to twist the facts and destroy your marriage. Yep, OP could preface it by saying, "Hey, I don't know why your sister sent me this, but I'm not okay with it," even if she's joking or intoxicated. But either way, sorry dude, you must tell your wife tonight. Otherwise, sister-in-law is going to twist it and try to make it look like this was your idea. Show your wife the text. It's proof that your wife's sister was hitting on you, not the other way around. My cynical butt was like, wife put sister up to this as a test because she's feeling scared. I hate the world, man. But hey, maybe it's just a devious idiot little sister trying to get back at her big sister for some crap that happened in middle school or something. What do I know? Honestly, I'd rather that be the case. I haven't seen it, but I've heard pregnancies can heavily screw with your head. And I'd rather a very dumb and irrational decision was made rather than your best friend by birth being your biggest traitor. Pregnancy can mess with unstable, jealous sisters, the non-pregnant ones. My wife had to cut her sister off because she was mental when my wife was pregnant, texting her every day, telling her that her husband, me, is probably cheating on her, etc. After our daughter was born, we tried to give sister-in-law a second chance and made every effort to be nice to her and let her be a part of the family. But no, she couldn't hold it together. She snapped and went mental on a family holiday and ended up punching our preschool daughter in the back of the head. Sometimes you gotta know when to cut someone out of your life before the crap hits the fan. She's a true psychopath, the same person who's burnt every bridge with every friend she's ever had. I, 32 female, am a single mother of 2 kids, a young male grammar schooler and a female infant. I'm a single mother by choice. My kids are donor conceived. I'm lucky enough to have a good job, French teacher in a private school, and a paid-off house, parents' life insurance, and inheritance. Before I had either of my kids, I made sure to have a year's living expenses saved, and I would take a sabbatical to recover from birth, as well as bond with my kids. While on sabbatical, I still tutor some kids for some extra income. My friend, 34 female, just had a baby a couple of months ago. She's the breadwinner in her household, and her husband's been unemployed since he was laid off during the global issue. It was great to be pregnant at the same time, as well as having a friend with a newborn, but it's turned sour. She's been saying how jealous she is of me being able to take off a whole year from work, how she would have loved to not have to worry about losing their home, how she doesn't even have a couple of $100s in her savings account, let alone a whole year's worth of living expenses. I usually ignore it or brush it off because I can understand the stress she's under. Well, starting about 10 days ago, she started hinting at not being able to afford daycare, and any mention of her husband taking care of their kid is brushed off. Then she started remarking on how much free time I must have, which I deflected by saying truthfully that being a single mom to a baby and a small kid left me no free time actually. Then last night, she came out with it and asked if I could do her a favor and watch her kid while she's at work. I was firm but polite when I said that I couldn't and that I wasn't capable of watching 2 kids under 6 months. She almost started begging me, saying she couldn't afford daycare, and if she was not back at work, she would lose her job, and they'd end up homeless. I again brought up her husband, and she said that he wasn't good with the kids and wasn't capable of taking care of her kid. I kept saying no, and she kept pushing it until it escalated to her calling me heartless and me telling her that it was not my problem. She chose to have a kid with a useless man. Now she blocked me. I'm feeling very guilty about what I said and feeling like an idiot. Not the idiot. I think there were no idiots here up to the point of her pressing you to do this favor, which she shouldn't have asked for in the first place. You're exactly right that it's not your problem that she's in this situation. And while I do think a heavy dose of empathy is important to your friendship, her having a husband who isn't employed and cannot contribute to the child care, she has a problem she needs to solve. Unless the husband is bedbound or otherwise physically incapable of work or childcare, he needs to pull his finger out of his butt and step up to parent his own child. And if she isn't going to make him, she needs to leave him and claim child support. Yes, if he's not going to get a job, this won't do much, but at least you'll have one less mouth to feed. She has indeed married a completely useless man. I want to know why she thought it was such a great idea to have a kid with a guy who has no job, no apparent plans to get one, and an inability to care for his own child. How did she think this was going to turn out? The whole thing is an incomprehensible cluster to me. I think she stays with him, so her kid has 2 parents. But I think the day is going to come when she decides her sanity is more important than a 2-parent household. My wife and I got married about 3 weeks ago. I love her and I have no regrets about marrying her, but we both massively regret having a traditional wedding when we both wanted to elope. We ended up not eloping due to family pressure, mostly from her parents, who made her feel bad being their only daughter and potentially denying them the chance to see their daughter get married. She said she'd regret having her moment. In actuality, it seemed that they just wanted to have a moment. The last year was so full of unnecessary drama, and while each of our parents contributed to paying for the wedding, we still ended up putting up a lot ourselves. Everything just kept getting more and more expensive. Not that we expected to get a ton in wedding gifts, but the cash gifts we got did not make up for what we paid. Overall, it was a year of stress. A bunch of drama over things like who should be at the wedding party, invited to the wedding, and all the wedding drama I've always heard about. The actual day wasn't fun either. Both of us get mild social anxiety, big part of why both of us wanted to elope, and it wasn't as bad as we expected it to be. We got back from our honeymoon Thursday, and this weekend we were at our parents' house for Father's Day. They really wanted to pat themselves on the back for convincing us to do the traditional wedding and kept making comments like, "See, wasn't that so much fun?" At first we'd politely agree and try to change the subject. Still, I kind of broke towards the end of the night when they made a suggestion that we disagreed with. My mother-in-law said, "Oh, honey, of course it's your decision. But just remember, I was right about the wedding, and I think I was right about this." I just lost it, and then told them all about how much we hated the experience. They asked my wife if it was true, and she broke down and said it was 100% true. She hated the whole experience. We left shortly after, but then this morning her dad called me, saying how rude I was and how he wanted me to go over there and apologize to his wife in person. I don't think that I should, but I just wanted to get some outside perspective. Not the idiot. Your parents bullied you into something they wanted and made you pay for it in more ways than one. They pulled the do it for the family card, didn't they? We see this so much in this subreddit. You don't need to apologize. Notice how your father-in-law isn't asking his daughter to apologize. They're still playing the blame game. What about your parents? I hope they regret their part in this too. I wouldn't be surprised if your wife breaks down and apologizes anyway. Just be prepared for more bullying if and when you decide to have kids. Their names, who will watch them, the gifts, the baby shower. It never ends unless you put the boundaries up now. And now the family's trying to use this wedding situation against OP and his wife and their own boundaries, making the claim that the family knows better than OP and wife because they think they're right about the wedding. Sadly, I'm not surprised that they were blind to the couple's feelings about the wedding. In their heads, everyone loves a wedding. If they were thrilled with it, so was everyone else, right? I'm pretty sure Rock is capable of more insight and empathy. I, 27 female, am marrying my fiancé, Raj, 29 male, in a couple of months. We're having a traditional, lavish Indian wedding, which has been a dream of mine since childhood. I grew up in a mixed household. My father's Hindu and my mother's Christian. While we celebrated both religions growing up, I've always felt more connected to my father's Hindu traditions. My sister Sarah, 25, is also getting married around the same time. She identifies more with our mother's Christian faith and is planning a traditional Christian wedding. Recently, Sarah approached me, expressing concerns that our weddings being so close together might overshadow hers, especially since mine is more extravagant and involves multiple days of celebration. Sarah asked if I could tone down my wedding, consider postponing it, or even make it a fully Christian ceremony to balance things out. She believes that having two weddings so close together, with one being significantly grander, would take attention away from hers and create unnecessary stress for our family who must juggle both events. I told her I understood her concerns, but I've been planning this wedding for over a year, and having it the way I've always imagined it means a lot to me. I also pointed out that our cultural backgrounds are different, and both weddings will be unique in their own ways. Additionally, postponing my wedding would be a huge inconvenience and financial burden for us, given the extensive preparations and bookings already in place. Our wedding dates are 3 weeks apart. We have separate guest lists, but there is some overlap with close family and mutual friends. My mother's siding with Sarah and believes I should change my wedding to a fully Christian ceremony, or at least incorporate significant Christian elements. My father, on the other hand, supports my decision and believes that both of us should have the weddings we want. Sarah was very upset and accused me of being selfish and not caring about her feelings. She thinks I'm prioritizing my wedding over my family's well-being. My mother started going overboard, constantly criticizing my decisions, and even threatening to not attend my wedding unless I change it to a Christian ceremony. She's been calling extended family members to persuade them to side with Sarah and boycott my wedding if I don't comply. My father supports my decision and believes that we should each have the weddings we want. He's been trying to mediate, but the situation is getting more tense by the day. Sarah and I have always had a complicated relationship. While we support each other, there's often been underlying tension due to our different personalities and choices. Now I'm feeling torn. I don't want to hurt my sister or cause any family rift, but I don't want to sacrifice my dream wedding. Also, I'm not in her bridal party or anything else. Also, I inherited a lot from my great-grandfather, who was Hindu, and he gave it to me as I was as well. I gave my sister 40% of what he gave me, and no one is helping with wedding cost. Am I the idiot for telling my sister that I won't change my wedding? Everyone's the idiot here. Whose wedding was set first? Whoever set a second wedding date on such a close date, another wedding was inconsiderate, especially if the date had no specific meaning. But for sure, what is wrong with your mom? You want a Hindu wedding. Changing it to a Christian wedding would make it everything but not your wedding. You probably haven't even thought your sister could change your wedding into a Hindu one, and surely hasn't your mother. She's utterly disrespectful to you and your beliefs. I'm willing to wager OP booked it second, as they never mentioned the order, and I 100% would if they could. I also like the completely unnecessary inclusion of the grandfather's inheritance. She's such a kind and generous person, and she wants everyone to know it. Hindu wedding dates aren't chosen by the couple. It's chosen by a Hindu astrologer that reads their charts and gives them maybe 2 dates to choose from in the year. Some years may not even be completely advisable. Indian weddings, it's usually not a big deal to have it in the same month. Seems like they don't want OP to have an extravagant wedding due to her sister. OP, you're not the idiot. Your mom is an extreme idiot, telling family members not to attend. Go and see with your mama after this. That's some intense toxicity. I'm honestly wondering if the mother put the idea in the sister's head to begin with, considering how hard she's pushing for it. My husband of 16 years asked me if I'd be willing to care for his mother. I told him no. When he asked why not, I told him the truth. We never got along. She's always been passive-aggressive towards me. I've been told that many Hispanic mothers do this when no one is good enough for their child. We are civil towards one another. That's the best we can do. My husband even dared to bring up the fact that he supported me when I took care of my dad, who had cancer. I told him the situations were different because he offered. I didn't ask. I also had other family members that were helping. He's an only child and has no one else, so everything would most likely fall on my shoulders since he does work long hours. I'm talking sometimes 12 to 18-hour days. Last week alone, he worked 84 hours. I told him I understood it may seem unfair, but the situations are different. I had support on my head when it came to caring for my dad. I will have nearly zero support. Yes, he's offered to pay extra support, but that will just eat into our budget. We are trying to save for a house, and I'm currently not working as I'm in school trying to finish my degree. I took time off from teaching to care for my dad. After he passed, I didn't want to go back to teaching. So at the moment, I'm in my 3rd year of my engineering degree. I do not wish to put that on hold either, taking care of his mother. After I explained all of this, my husband just left and has not returned any of my phone calls. I spoke with my mom, but she was far from helpful. She found it silly that I even went to school in the first place. Got me thinking, am I the idiot for not wanting to put my own goals in life on hold again for a sick parent? Not the idiot. However, OP, you might want to quickly figure out how you're going to support yourself, pay for your education, and save for that house by yourself, because it sounds like your husband is going to be your ex-husband soon, and he'll be spending all that money on his mother's care. Agreed. If he's going to fully support someone, he may feel obligated to have it be his mother instead of OP. I wouldn't be willing to be a caretaker for my mother-in-law, or really any parent, if I could avoid it. Still, I'd get my butt back to work so my husband can pay for a home or a caretaker, or work less so he can be there for her. The OP loves what her husband provides her, nothing else. She doesn't bring solutions to the table because they would all eat into her cash cow. Lady, you are the idiot. What should your husband do about his mom? Should he do nothing? Let her go to a government facility that is pretty crappy? You don't seem to be willing to allow him to spend anything meaningful on his mom either, which may make you an idiot. I know you don't like his mom, but if you love him, you will help him figure out an approach he feels good about.